Welcome to my oral presentation on the map of salt and stars. This is my passage. So I imagine going to the bank and waiting all that time, and then leaving, only to come back in and do it all again, and again, and again. The map of salt and stars follows the story of an 11-year-old Syrian girl, Noor, as she visits Syria for the first time after the death of her father in New York, just as the Syrian civil war begins. Noor, together with her family, migrates across the Middle East and North African continent and faces increasingly dangerous challenges throughout her journey towards safety, with the peak of her danger being her separation from the remainder of her family. My research focuses on studying how human rights were violated regarding gender inequality between the borders during the Civil War in 2011 and onwards. At this point in the book, Noor and Zara, Noor's second oldest sister, have already been separated from her family due to unforeseen circumstances a few chapters earlier. And just before this scene, Noor and Zara have arrived at the small Spanish town of Ceuta in a freezer at the back of a truck, and unfortunately were caught by the border patrol. During this scene, Noor and Zara are analyzing their situation of first entering the Centro de Estancia Temporal de Inmigrantes, translated to the Center of Temporary Stay of Immigrants, or CETI. And Noor came to the conclusion from her surroundings that if Noor and Zara were to decide to stay in the CETI, they would most likely not be able to leave and find their family again. This gives Noor a flashback of when she first went to the bank with her father and makes her feel like that being a refugee will be an endless cycle of not belonging anywhere. The CETI was initially set up in 2000 in order to combat the irregular immigrant camps in the surrounding forests in the 1990s. The CETI was built to provide basic needs for immigrants by supplying 3 meals a day, physical and mental medical treatment, as well as Spanish lessons. Despite these immigrants having the option to leave as they desire, most immigrants tend to decide to live in the CETI due to the unlikelihood of immigrants finding work in Ceuta to be in charge of their everyday life. However, due to the recent surplus of immigrants, approximately 1,200 immigrants in a space built to accommodate 480, more and more immigrants who manage to climb the 6-meter-high fence surrounding Ceuta are sent back to Morocco. This has often been described as serious violations of European and international laws regarding guaranteeing potential asylum seekers access to international protection, or the principle of international law that forbids asylum seekers from being returned to danger. My essay's provisional title is Human Rights of Female Syrian Refugees Along Borders, because I want to focus my research paper on issues female refugees face along borders. I believe these are the places that people and governments have the most control over. And this is the map that I'm thinking of using. It's not exactly finalized yet, but I think it's a really cool representation of the journey that Noor and her family has taken throughout her migration across the Middle East and North Africa. Thank you so much for listening.